Three, two, one, go.
Welcome into PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. And with me from sunny southern Florida, or the west coast of Florida, the southwest Florida, is Eric Garfield of the Florida Prospects Reports and also works with PressBox. And whenever he's on, we talk a lot about Oriole prospects, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Interesting development the other night that we'll get into in just a minute concerning right-handed pitcher Chase McDermott, because the Orioles, in addition to searching the trade market, have got to be turning downward and saying, geez whiz, is there anything down there left after Cade Povich? So we'll examine that on today's program. Talk about Kobe Mayo. We'll talk about Jackson
Always.
Holliday and Matthew Etzel and a couple other, and Sammy Basayo. But that's coming in just a minute. Right now, I want to tell you that we are brought to you by the expert and award-winning AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Home Performance. They will improve your home performance, your home's energy efficiency, kill all viruses in your duct system and comfort, and they'll improve your comfort levels. They'll also get you in line for $6,000 in rebates. The AC season is upon us. New rebates and discounts are available more at ajmichaels.com. And in addition to the Costas Inn, we are also brought to you by this very fine eatery in Harbor Point. If you're craving that classic New York deli experience, look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different.
A bar.
Atman's has food and drink specials every day now, open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at our bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find them at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com. I don't want to mislead anybody, and I should know this by now, but a night like tonight when the game starts at like 9:40, I'm not sure they're open for you to watch the game there. So if you're thinking about it tonight, call down there, Google them and call down there before you say, hey, let's go to Stan the Fan says go to Atman's at Harbor Point because they got this great bar, and watch the game and eat a hot dog or a roast beef sandwich or corned beef sandwich. Corned beef, my favorite sandwich, by the way. But call, make sure. Now, tomorrow's Thursday, so I'm not sure of that because it's 4th of July, but a 4 o'clock game would be great to watch there. I can guarantee you they're open. All right. We'll talk about the Costas Inn a little bit later on. Eric, what can you tell us about this game the other night? I had my cousin Ron Matz tell me, did you hear about Chase McDermott? He told me this last night over dinner. His game last night, it was Monday night, must have been really almost a perfecto for him. 7 innings, 1 earned run, I think 3 hits allowed, no walks, I believe, also
Correct.
12 Ks. Is he on the periphery of being able to help the team? Possibly.
Yeah, that's a yes. He probably has been for a while, and now he's a little bit closer to whatever that line is. The 12 strikeouts and 0 walks shows that he's handling late counts or maybe 3 ball counts the exact right way. He's not giving in 0 times in that game. I'm sure that's something that the Orioles executives want to see. And he's been close to ready. Now, perhaps he's a little bit closer to ready. We will see what the Orioles do as far as supplementing or adding to their pitching staff. We got Dean Kramer back today. So maybe McDermott, when he comes in, will be more of a swingman, a low chance at a starter. But man, 12 strikeouts and 0 walks. What does that say to any baseball fan? That shows a level of readiness. Absolutely.
All right. That's exciting. That is
Yeah,
exciting.
damn right.
I asked you the other day when we talked topics today, we said, club needs pitching.
We do.
Chase McDermott sort of raising his level and readiness. Is there anything else? I'm not even necessarily asking you that can help in 2024, but with what they have now, with Bradish being out most of next year, Means certainly being out if he even signs with the Orioles, out next year, at least until late next year. Is there anything that looks down the road ish, 25, 26, that you can say, hey, there's two or three guys down at down the eastern shore at Delmarva that are really. Is there anything like that?
I'm going to say one of our favorite arms that we have discussed, you and I, and you actually got the chance to see him. 21-year-old Edgar Portes is at High A Aberdeen and just absolutely doing the most with his innings. Got about 60 innings, about 80 strikeouts. Average against is 200, sitting at 200. Whip right at 1.2. So he's done fine. He's got 5 decisions. He's 4-1. So every little thing,
Only given up 2 home runs, I think you said. In
yeah, two home runs in those 60 innings. So really, by every single measure, just looking at counting stats, he's doing fine. And at 21, been in the system for a matter of years, is probably closer to a call-up than we realize. But he's really the only one that has everything going for him. There's other guys, Trey Gibson, a draft pick from last year from Liberty, is at Delmarva. He has a similar strikeout rate, similar strikeout numbers, same amount of innings, a lot more strikeouts than innings. But his peripherals, his ERA, his whip, his walk numbers, his walk rates are less than ideal for low A competition. So he's still getting used to it. So those are the two that when I look down, they have the most strikeout potential.
Let me ask you a question about Portes because I was a little surprised. It's not a bad whip at 120, but when you told me the strikeouts and the batting average against, I was thinking that would be a little lower. Are his walks a little high for
Slightly.
60 innings?
Yep, 27. So slightly. I didn't go back and look at the game logs to see if like they were all in April and May or if there was an equal distribution. But I guarantee you, he knows he's not trying to issue those free passes, and perhaps he needs to get to a level of 3-ball execution where somebody like McDermott or a high minors performer is. But really, nitpicking at Portes is fine, and he's going to have an adjustment period at Double A. But it will be very interesting to see when and how the organization starts to formulate transitioning him up a level. Hopefully it's soon.
Yeah, so when you said 3 minutes ago that he's closer to a call-up, you didn't mean by the Orioles, you meant a promotion to Double A, correct?
I always make that, yes, that I always make that mistake.
Right.
I mean one level up to probably closer to Bowie than we realize. We don't have all the in-zone stats, the swing, the whiff percentage type stats, the movement metrics that the team has, but he's got to be close. I mean, Stan, he was on fire in February. Now we're in July. So he's been quite consistent and has earned a call-up.
I know it's Major League Baseball I'm talking about now. Did you watch Grayson last night?
Absolutely did.
He was really very, very impressive. Again, I'm putting a sort of timing from 15 years ago or 10 years ago. Love to see him go 7 1/3, 7 2/3, 6 1/3. Not bad at all, but he was really commanding last night.
He did not get into many bad counts, and the few that he did, he just threw strikes that were hittable pitches, like almost asking the hitters to hit it to his defense. Stan, I'm not going to say it's the best start of his career, but when you look back at all of it, it's the one where you start to think, man, if he does this 24, 25 times a season, he's a true ace, and he's going to get extremely rich. But the Orioles, that's exactly what they need. Maybe have the top guy and build the rest of the rotation down. But yeah, an absolutely inspiring performance. The Mariners, they're a pretty good team. Grayson just
pretty good. They're pretty good. They struggle offensively, though. They
Right.
are not a good offensive team, but that's not Grayson's fault or problem, But he dominated them pretty good. The only
Good word.
blemish was 4 walks,
Yep.
but a really strong performance. I
Happy
really
for him.
liked how enthusiastic he is. Like when he struck Riley out,
Screaming.
I mean, he was really amped up, and I think Raleigh at first, I think he took it as you're showing me up, but I think he's just tremendously enthusiastic when he succeeds, and he's
I
tremendously enthusiastic, pissed off when he loses, and that's what greatness is partly about. To
He's
me.
not faking it.
No,
Grayson really cares, and that's what the Orioles dugout or any contending dugout needs. Somebody bringing that energy and make. I don't like to use the term life or death, but it certainly matters to Grayson Rodriguez. No doubt about that.
it was interesting the other night. I don't know if you saw the terrible game Sunday night on national TV. I imagine you did.
Unfortunately, I did.
Yeah, when they had Gunnar Henderson mic'd up when he was asked who he'd like to be with on an island, I tend to think his best friend is probably Colton. Colton likes to think that, but it was interesting that he picked Grayson because he'd come up with something creative to get us off the island. So not
Or
just like a big lunkhead, a big goon, a smart guy. So I like that. I like
the
it.
impression that I got was Grayson is going to hunt and provide the food, and Gunnar knows how to prepare it to
Right.
be to be eaten. The funny thing about that was a lot of the times you watch those interviews are like 3 or 4 questions, maybe.
Right.
Gunner's not an outgoing, exuberant type of guy. The inning went so long, Ravitch was just firing questions and questions, and by the end, Gunner's answers were like 3 words. He got tired of it after a few, so that was entertaining for me, especially while the Orioles are not playing their best game.
By the way, I thought those cleats that they gave him to honor what did they give it to him for to honor his
Legos
what's that?
for his Lego collecting
For
hobby.
his Lego collection. I thought they were hideous looking. I That's just my take. He
I
was
guess
so
so did he. He
excited by
changed them
them.
out.
He was so excited by them. Be interesting to see if he ever wears them again. I think he struck out 4 times that night.
If you coach a high school basketball team, you'll realize how very important shoes are.
All right. Hey, let's update ourselves and our audience on what Kobe Mayo is up to because it sure seems like he's really having a monstrous season. It was interrupted for what about 3.5 weeks with that fractured rib.
Yeah, that 3 weeks. I looked at the statistical leaders for the International League. He was in the top 5 in at bats when he got hurt, and now he's in the top 27. So he missed 2+ series, but his weighted runs created plus is at 156. So he's 56% better than the best offensive players in his league, which is right where he should be. He's hitting home runs extremely often. He has 18 in 250 plate appearances. Most of them, his long fly balls are home runs. So I don't know what else to say. His defense looks like it's at the levels where he was back in years previous. I really don't know what the Orioles want or expect from him, but he's not going to the Futures game. They only have one representative, and he's not on the 40-man, and he's not on the Orioles yet. So I hate to say it, it looks like the rest of this season is going to involve a lot more AAA home runs, which is not the best use of prospect value in my mind. But he was hot then. He's just as hot right now in terms of run production.
If Ryan Mountcastle or Ramon Urias were to get, or Westbrook were to get hurt, isn't he the logical first call now?
It seems so, but the O's have not. It doesn't look like what I want and what the fans. I bet if that happened today, the
Yeah.
scenario you just laid out, they'd call up someone like Terrin Vavra and not Kobe. They just think he's 99% seasoned, but not 100. And if he's not to 100 by their standards, he's not getting called up. For people that really believe in him and trust his ability, it's like me, it's getting frustrating.
It is, do you think his path to the majors? It's funny. 2 months ago, I thought it was blocked in a different way by Jackson Holiday,
Yep.
that they just wouldn't want to push him for past Holiday to make it that obvious that he's the better prospect, at least right now. Okay. This is not a knock at Holiday, but do you think he might have gotten hurt by the fact they said they're saying to themselves, we thought Holiday was ready and we were wrong. He wasn't ready. Let's not make the same mistake there. Let's let him finish up what we deem as his development.
I actually do not. I think the Orioles look at it a little bit more intelligently than that. They don't group people based on level of experience. Every case is different. And Stan, I have to be completely forthright. That's what's even more frustrating. It seems that the Orioles have a rudimentary audition process. Kalser did it. Norby did it. Kerstad did it. Stowers did it. Holiday did it. Who didn't do it? Like, right. That's the part that kind of gets me. Like, this guy is just terrorizing minor league pitching. The stadiums at that level are not big enough for him. His fly balls have different type of metrics and always have. He's more of a Ryan O'Hearn type of baseball contactor. He's 22 and 6'5". What are we doing here? So I don't want this to turn into me fetching about Kobe and only doing that, but we know how I feel.
Yeah, I feel very similarly to you. But
thank you.
I do also understand that the guys that are on the roster now helped
doing
them
good.
win 101 games last year.
Yep. And you know what? Last week, one of the plays in I forgot which game it was. It was a one-run game. It was in the 7th inning. There was a screamer hit to Urias. He scooped it perfectly, had plenty of time to throw. And I'm just thinking, like, I want Kobe up, but I don't want to get rid of that anytime soon. So it's a tough fit. You're exactly right. We're both right.
Let's give me the latest 40-cent examination of Jackson Holiday's season.
It looks like he has a slightly different approach as the DH. He's much more inclined to get on base. It looks like
he's getting on base at like a 440 clip.
Right. So it kind of makes me think this kind of goes back to Kobe. I think that Jackson is going to be on the Orioles in the very end of the season using his on-base ability to get to first base before the sluggers that we have and might acquire. So it doesn't change anything about him being the number one prospect overall or how he approaches offensive performance. But it is nice to see he has a plan, he has an objective, a goal, more walks, and he's meeting it. Maybe some of those things can transfer into the lower minors. Some of the speed players, Bradfield, Tavian Josenberger at Aberdeen, can start doing the same thing, just shooting high with that on base percentage. They're doing well, but it could always be slightly better.
All right. Let me take a break now and let me talk a little bit about the Costas Inn. Okay.
Absolutely.
The Costas Inn, and I'm like going rogue here a little bit because we just re-upped with them. And I was talking to Nick Triantopoulos the other day. And again, he's like sort of talking out of both sides of his mouth a little bit here. And he's my good, dear friend. But he's telling me, been so busy the last 9 days. And then we get into the business and he tells me what this Key Bridge thing has really hurt us because our regulars from Catonsville and Glen Burnie and Arbutus, they're not coming over as much because what used to be a 20-minute ride across the Key Bridge, and they're just off the bridge, the Costas Inn. There is no Key Bridge right now. So it now takes those people like an hour on the Beltway, maybe an hour and 10 or 15 minutes if it's really crowded. So the point I'm making is a lot of people in the neighborhood probably take the Costas Inn for granted. And it's really not fair because you might go somewhere else that's a little sexier or something like that seems to be a more, the point I'm making is you got a local foundation business in your community. If you're there in Sparrows Point, Middle River, Essex, Dundalk, the Costas Inn, they've been there for 52 years servicing you. Why not rediscover the Costas? And maybe you've gotten
Wow.
into the habit of taking it for granted, but they've got great nightly specials Monday through Friday. And they've got fantastic crab cakes, crab soup, and of
They do.
course the steamed crabs. 410 477 1975. Whenever any of the Orioles that I know come into town, they always are wanting to go out to the Cots. You should too, especially if you live within 15 or 20 minutes of the Cots. All right. 477 410 477 1975. You do need to call in advance of crab feasts to make sure they've got the availability, the size, and the price point you're looking for. Okay. That's the Costas Inn. Now, getting back to the Oriole situation and the prospects, we've examined a little bit about the dearth of pitching prospects in the organization that are really hot and heavy, making great strides now. We're going to have to. Would it surprise you this year, Eric, given where they are in the draft and where the system is strong with offensive players, if they use their number one pick, and I know it's not a high number one pick, it's going to be like 28 or 29, right?
Yeah.
Would you be surprised if they take the best pitcher that they see available at that time? Somebody
I,
they project could come a little quickly.
okay. The need is clear, and we've discussed it in detail. Yes, I would be surprised because kind of like the Ravens, they have a system, they have a profile, and I think they want a top 40 hitter no matter what the class looks like. This is a bad one. They want a
Okay.
top 40 hitter first. And that's who they think they can do the most with. If they can't find one, or if the one that they perceive isn't the fit or gets picked, then yes, I think they could pivot to it. But I think they want a college level hitting performer, no matter what the draft class looks like. I don't
Okay.
think they're drafting for need, especially in terms of someone that wouldn't be able to help the major league club for like 40 to 60 months in an ideal set of circumstances anyway. So that would surprise
You're
me, but
saying
I
they're
don't
going to fall
I
back
really
on what they know the best, which is
yeah,
the hitters.
I don't follow college sports and I don't really pay that much attention to the draft. I look at the players once they become prospects in the system. The need is there, and maybe somebody slightly less intelligent would do that. But the Orioles have a system, and it seems to be working.
Okay. By the way, speaking of the draft, which is coming up in what, 16 days, 14 days? It's the Sunday night before the All-Star game, right?
So that would be July 14th. That would be
Yeah,
11 days.
yeah. It's the 14th. The
It's
All-Star game
relatively
is on the 16th, right?
relatively soon.
So speaking of that, next week it's Wednesday, right? That we booked Dan Zielinski,
Correct. Looking forward to that.
and we're
Absolutely.
talking to him, I think, at 3:30, correct?
I'll be ready.
All right. Is that the right time? I think it was 3:30. Yeah. Yeah.
That is what we coordinated. Yeah.
All right. So Dan Zielinski, a young guy, but really well versed on who the top prospects are. And we'll go over who the top prospects are. And then we'll ask him point blank who he thinks the Orioles are looking at and who might fall to them. Okay. So that,
For our listeners, this is somebody that's very experienced and knowledgeable about the landscape, the whole landscape
yeah.
around the world, and specifically college. So
Yeah.
a very beneficial discussion in terms of amateur baseball.
Okay. Now
Nice guy.
getting back to the Orioles. Couple other updates. You've mentioned Sammy Basayo as the club's one selection for the futures game, which
Yep.
will also take place on the 14th, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
Tell us about the season he's having, and then morph into Matthew Etzel, who elevated from Aberdeen to Bowie about a month ago.
I guess Basayo is his performance has normalized at Double A. his weighted runs created plus is 125, meaning he's a quarter better than the best performers, which would
And
put him like
he's much younger than a lot of the performers he's up.
he
Correct.
is the youngest player in his league. And let's
Okay.
look at his exact age is
20.
19 years, 10 months, 20 days.
So
So
he's not even 20 yet.
19.8 or 19.9. So
Okay.
extremely young. Oriole fans have been a little frustrated with how much time he misses. He'll get hurt and miss 4 or 5 days. I want some of these fans to see what he looks like up close. It's kind of like a WWF wrestler. He's an enormous person for 19 years old, over 6'3", over 225 pounds, and he squats 1,000 times a day for his profession. So the lower body in the back is not going to just perform seamlessly day after day.
He reminds me a little bit. I'm not comping him as the player, but he reminds me size wise of Victor Martinez.
Okay, he can stand. I can take it. He reminds me size wise of Mark Perrin, especially when he's standing up out of the crouch. He just keeps standing and keeps standing, and he's a kid. So the strains and the ligament injuries. He is a catcher and a very large one. That's what's going to happen. But when he plays, they hit him twice so he can bat 5 times a game. They hit him fourth or fifth so he can drive in runs. He's throwing people out at a satisfactory rate. His pop times are not exclusive, but for someone with that much mass, they're absolutely where they should be. Basayo is a great catcher. He's deserving of being the #1 prospect for the Orioles when everybody else graduates, and he has certainly earned an invitation to play, bat, and sit in the dugout with the best catchers in the minor leagues. I think the American League team is Kyle Teal from the Red Sox.
Right.
Great
Another
player.
great catcher, yeah.
Harry Ford from the Mariners. So this is a group he might even be able to learn a little bit from while he's enjoying himself and showing off the Orioles uniform. So I guess congratulations to Sam for making the Futures game.
So is it fair to say if at some point in the next year or two, Felix Bautista were pitching to him, it would be the mountain and the mountain?
Absolutely. Oh man, that's a lot. And not like I ever like discussing this, but if we get into a fight, a team fight, and those are the two guys, you don't want to go anywhere near the Battery because both are nice guys, but a little crazy and extremely large.
Yeah. I have
Felix
a feeling,
is down here. I saw
not
him.
that I talk fighting much, but I got a feeling Gunnar can handle him.
Right. So do I. Hopefully, we'll never find out. One of the FCL games I was at last week, there was a player jogging at one of the backfields, and they were so tall, it had to be Felix. So he's down here getting better.
All right, good. Tell us a little bit about Matthew Etzel's season, because it started off really well at Aberdeen. Has the well continued at Bowie?
Yeah, that's actually like a reasonable transition to talk about Sam and Etzel, because last year Sam did the exact same thing. He tore high A up. When he got to Double A, it was supposed to be hard, and he did just as well. This year, extremely consistent. That's what I've noticed when you look at the back of Etzel's baseball card. 135 weighted runs created plus. Last year, high A. 136 this year, high A. Move him up to Bowie, where it's supposed to be tough, 130. So he's playing at an MVP level. His strikeout rate went up from 10 to a little bit above 11. Or pardon me, I got that wrong. His strikeout rate went down from 19 to 18. So he's striking out less, facing more difficult pitchers. Etzel, I don't want to say he's fast, but he's quicker than station to station. He has good range in the outfield, about 6'2", 200, uses the heaviest bat. So he's got some athletic qualities that really show as the high minors come and get more difficult, he might just be able to handle it. When I talked to Orioles executives on the bleachers this year during the spring, he was the name that every single individual mentioned. Make sure you get video of him. Make sure you watch him. make sure you pay attention to the size of his bat. Look at his swing. So a lot of different people from different departments had a high opinion of him. That means at the draft meeting, they all liked him. So this is a guy that the organization is going to support as he rises. And statistically, he really is. He's doing great. His average at AA, 290. His on base at AA, 370. It hasn't been hard for him. $176,000 bonus. You know, it's already looking like that was a great value, and he's more than just a good draft pick.
Where do you project him outfield wise, position wise? Right field?
The times that I've seen him come in on the ball, stop and make that throw, that transfer, he's been a right fielder. The times I've seen him not be able to get to everything, center field. So I guess corner outfield.
Okay.
And he's got a good arm. The more fans and listeners see of Etzel, the more they're going to like him. He's a gamer type of player.
Has he moved above Dylan Beavers and Judd Fabian?
No, I'm not going to say above. They've got a little bit more track record and a little bit more pedigree, but that's a great question because now it's reasonable to put him in that tier. I see a lot of times people talk about the next outfielder that comes up is going to be Fabian. Well, let's start thinking about that. Let's start formulating the scenarios and looking at a reality. Maybe that dude is Etzel. We can revisit that.
One other question before we go tonight. Not that I was counting on him in the major leagues this year at all, but has Enrique Bradfield won you over a little bit more than you were in the spring about his ability to put bat on ball?
Oh, that's a very no. That's a specific question and a good one for this point in the season. It's not really that. It's what can he do when he does? How can he drive it? Where does it end up? Do outfielders even have to play back? And some of those questions are still no, despite the fact that he does have an overall over the wall home run. I like to see somebody that can really drive the ball, put it in the back of the power alleys. He's a triples guy, just not
he
that
doesn't
way.
get the ball where he needs to get it to be triple.
Yeah. And when he enters the high minors and he's got to work harder per pitch just to do that, I see a set of circumstances that's going to be difficult to overcome for an athlete like that.
What type of on base percentage is he?
I think the last time I looked,
under 300.
Pardon me?
Is it under 300?
Oh no. It was close. It was close to 4, but not for a super speed guy. He's also not first in steals on his team. So let's see, Bradfield. Yeah, that's exactly 350. I thought it was as high as 3 in the 360s. But you want a little bit more. You want him taking at three balls to get on and use that speed. And even if everything works out, if he's able to show that, do that, and make progress, is that truly an impact player? Those are the questions that I have. I didn't expect them to be answered now. So a year from now, I expect to have similar questions, unfortunately.
All right. Great stuff tonight. All right.
Thank you.
Eric Garfield of Florida Prospects Report, also writing and commenting on PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. That's going to do it for this week. I'll be back Monday with Ross Grimsley and Luke Jackson. And Wednesday, as we alluded to, we're going to look at this draft, find out how much value is in this draft with Dan Zielinski. Do you remember who he's with? It's terrible that I forgot.
I know that he has been affiliated with 2 employers. I do not remember the name of the most recent one, but while you're thinking about that, I'd like to close out and say happy Independence Day, happy birthday to America. Hopefully you'll find something to to do on July 4th. I'll be watching the FCL, but you know, that's how I enjoy every holiday.
All right. I don't have it. I'll have it next week. But he's going to send us both list of his top 100. All right.
So we got
All
something
right,
to look forward to.
We'll talk to him next Wednesday at 3:30 on the Zoom, and it's available anytime you want. If you go to pressboxonline.com and look under videos, it'll show on
That's
there.
awesome.
All right. All right. That does it for now. Have a great 4th of July, everybody, and we'll talk